Well, I can't say that I really want to be here. I don't know if anybody else will show up at this point. It is kind of late. I don't know how many people even watched the end of the game. I said we'd be coming here to celebrate or commiserate, and commiserate it is if anybody comes in to join me in that moment. So this is WVU football going deep. I am Forrest Poston, regardless of what happened today, and I am a West Virginia football fan. I am a Neil Brown fan. I am a 2024 fan. It was not good. It was not pretty. Penn State was the better team. And this resembled last year's game in too many negative ways. I am going to find some positives amidst all this, but it was just not a well-played game for West Virginia. And unfortunately, I thought this team would be able to handle the hype. I don't think they did handle the hype. They were off. And we know Garrett Green can play better than he did. So I'm using that as the measure. I think it applies to a lot of the other players. I think we will see a much better team the rest of the season, which we did last year. On the negatives, well, positives and negatives. The defense actually did a good job containing Penn State a fair amount of the time. But then, bang, touchdown. They gave up the massive plays, give up 3 yards on first and second down, and then, let things go on third down. That has been a traditional problem for West Virginia as long as I've watched West Virginia, getting off the field on third down. They did not do it well. I'd said, last year, the difference for the defense was whether or not they contained the quarterback when they put on pressure, when they got pressure. If they didn't contain the quarterback, it was a bad game. Well, they didn't contain the quarterback. Now, they actually didn't bring pressure that much, especially they started some in the second quarter, and they did more in the second half. I think, pretty much had to. But I think the best they ever managed to do was hold things to a 1 yard run and a 5 yard run. The rest of the time, it was 10 yards, 15 yards, something like that. They did not maintain lane integrity. Now, flip that over for Penn State. I want to talk about this. Penn State got too much pressure on Green. That was certain, especially when Williams was in for Milam. I know a couple of the big plays for their defense. It was Williams. So he's not ready for the big time. We'll see if he's ready for the Big 12 time in a few weeks. But Green was not able to break out of the pocket for long runs. Now, he had a couple of runs in the fourth quarter, but that's garbage time overall. The reason he was not able to break out is because Penn State maintained lane integrity and closed from multiple sides. A quarterback has no place to go. The reason I bring this up is because we have continued to have people say that if Brown had played Green, in his first couple of years, Green would have been able to escape the rush where Dagey couldn't. I have pointed out over and over again that Dagey couldn't escape because he either had somebody coming from his blind side clean, or he had players coming from multiple directions and no place to go. Today showed that in most of those cases, Green wouldn't have been able to escape either. Don't blame Dagey. Don't blame Brown. In those years, it was the offensive line and what they had to work with. Part of the third quarter, part of the fourth quarter, Green got sharp. He put his passes on the money even under pressure. This is what we expect from him. Most of the game, he either missed a bit or missed badly. And even during the stretch when he was sharp, he missed a couple very badly. And that's, like I say, he wasn't on his A game. The rest of the team wasn't on their A game. So that's still what is their A game. I still think this team is going to win 9 or 10 games, maybe 11. Well, the one thing we do know, they're not going undefeated. Let's see here. As far as I know, they were just rotating players. I know they intended to rotate. I never heard anything about Milam being injured. I never saw him down on the field. Of course, we had more than enough guys go down. Fortunately, they mostly came back. I never heard a report on Hammond Russell. We'll have to wait and see on that. Dodged a bullet with White, but at the same time, our record for rushing over 140 yards per game has come to an end. Of course, second half couldn't run the ball much, had to pass. But back where I was, when Green was sharp, the team moved the ball. Now, if we'd been doing that from the beginning, Penn State would not have been able to just, cut loose and rush full speed. We would have had a lot more options. So, just for the sake of pulling something positive out of this, the team is capable of doing very well. And I have every reason to believe that Green will be sharp at least most of the season. Of course, he had a couple of bad games last year. Sometimes we won those, sometimes we didn't. But I expect things to pick up from here. Obviously, next week, I fully expect us to beat Pitt solidly. We just have, a Neil Brown word, consistency. We have to manage that consistency. I haven't, and I probably won't actually study the film to see just what went wrong. Now, in some cases, we just got outmanned. And again, once we got behind that much, Penn State just had too much of an advantage. There wasn't a lot that West Virginia could do. I do want to note they have got to introduce some system for correcting non-calls. We have where, they can review a call, but the non-call on the first punt, when Straw's foot, was up at the neck of the Penn State player. So we can't say his foot was back on the ground. And the West Virginia player did not hit him enough to change his trajectory. That was the reason he was able to get there so quickly. So that should have been reviewed. And the end of the second half, when Burks had position, the receiver pretty nearly pushed him down to the ground, and it did not get called. There should be a way to review that. There should be a system for coaches to, we need the red flag to toss on a non-call. That did not, change the outcome of the game. It affected the way some things went down, but West Virginia just didn't play well at all. Shouldn't say at all, because I just said when Green was sharp, they did well. But there are just too many times each year when we see calls that do affect the outcome of the game, blatant calls. And there are simple ways to correct that. Paying the refs, better, having professional refs, I think would be a start. But I think if the conferences had to pay a school $100,000 every time you could show a blatantly botched call, they'd fix the problem. And they would owe West Virginia money. They might owe Penn State money this week too. I know there were a couple of calls that went West Virginia's way. The Donaldson touchdown, the announcer was just also sure about that, which is ridiculous because Donaldson's body had things blocked. You could not judge it as well as he was claiming. But we had some good catches by the receivers. Fox, not a surprise. Taylor made one brilliant catch, missed one early that he should have had. It was kind of high, but the replay from another angle showed it went right between his hands pretty much. I don't think he saw the ball in time, and that's a timing issue. You can't be perfect all the time, but it is one of those things, man. He makes that catch. Does that ignite things for West Virginia? Announcer got one thing right. The first team that quit making mistakes and started playing clean ball would have a big advantage. It was Penn State. Couple of things flip early for West Virginia. They get going. Maybe they do play better. But when you come to the game and your mind just isn't quite right, it is hard to fix it in the middle of the game, even when you have a 2-hour delay to study the tablets. And let me mention, I will not tolerate trash talk. I don't know if I have the ability to block people. I will investigate that. What happens if I click this? Yeah, I do have that ability. And Stephen Keel, I told you in the last broadcast, no trash talking. You've done it again. One more. This is your warning. One more, and you're out permanently. I disagree. The secondary wasn't sharp most of the part of the time. Now, some of those passes, they had it covered. Touchdown pass there, the one that should never have happened at the end of the first half, that was a good pass, good coverage. We had an out route that was almost perfectly covered. The ball was in the one spot that it could be and be completed. Now, there were times when some guys were wide open who shouldn't have been. That was more early. I think they did manage to correct that mostly. So I think the defensive secondary will be okay. Now, I mean, I was pleased at how hard the defense was playing, even when the game was pretty much, uh, there's no quit. This team will not be broken by this, and they will come back from it, and they'll come back from it pissed. Uh, they are Nobody is going to be happy with how they played, but I really believe that they will use that, and I expect the play to be significantly better the rest of the season. Uh, Not sure about the bias. I mean, there wasn't that much to talk about with West Virginia. Some of the calls, I mean, when they say, they gave West Virginia the first down, it was kind of iffy. It was hard to judge. I will say that both of the officials came running in at the same spot. They both saw the ball being down in that spot. So we really don't see everything the replay officials can. That one, I don't think you could determine for certain where the ball went. And same for the Donaldson touchdown. The camera was completely blocked. You couldn't judge that one. So the call on the field had to stand on those cases. They did. Where I would object is the particularly bad calls, that didn't get made in West Virginia's favor. The announcers made a big deal initially about it being a clearly incorrect call or non-call, and then later they talked, as if it never happened. Oh, hey, Penn State drove right downfield at the end of the half. Well, the only reason they did that was because of that non-call that you're now forgetting to mention. Yeah, I don't know what was happening with the rush. I thought they would bring, 4 to 6 guys fairly frequently. Seemed they rarely brought 4. When they did, sometimes they got close. They were frequently late. And again, the middle, would just open wide. It was not the defense I expected, and I don't know why it wasn't. Evidently, they thought, they were better off playing, more guys back. But I was surprised at the calls and at the execution. We had, the one touchdown pass, I think, to Singleton, or the other running back, I forget. Lathan was blitzing, and he was nowhere near the quarterback when the pass was made. And it was not that quick a pass. The running back had to go out and across. And Lathan wasn't there, and he wasn't in the way. The good thing, we did have plays where the linebackers got into the passing lanes and forced the ball to be thrown higher, which caused incompletions. That was one of the things I wanted to see, but I wanted to see it consistently, and we didn't. So they did do some good things, and when they did them, Penn State had problems. And we stuffed Penn State time and time again, and then let them, get a long play. So the yardage Penn State racked up was massive, but they didn't do it by consistently dominating West Virginia. The defensive line held them to 3 yards or less. I think more often than they gave up over 3 yards, or somewhere in that. Now you look at the average per carry, and it is high, or the average pass, it is high because of the big plays they did give up. But Penn State did not consistently drive the ball. That's a positive. Yeah, Gary, I mean, when I watched Pat McAfee's show yesterday, I was thinking, hey, Green is the kind of guy who can handle this. Well, maybe he didn't. I don't know. We don't know how things went for him last night. You don't get this kind of hype at many schools often. At West Virginia, almost never. It's not like having McAfee's show and the big noon show on campus the same weekend is the norm. And if you had asked Green before the game, he probably would have said he was fine. The difference between fine and not fine is pretty fine. I think he will fix that. I think the coaches will fix the problems, and I do think the team will play better for the next, hopefully 12 or 13 games if we get to the championship game, which I still expect them to do. I still think they can handle anybody in the Big 12. Penn State, well, it looked like they deserved to be ranked in the top 10. They played well. There were weaknesses that West Virginia did not manage to take advantage of. I don't know if other teams will let them hit those big plays on 3rd and 8 that West Virginia did. I don't know if other teams will put them into 3rd and 8 as often as West Virginia did. That's the thing, is the bad things were bad in a big way. The good things were good in little ways. If you're going to stop the run, you have to do it 3 or 4 times in a row. If you give up a 60-yard touchdown, it only takes one play. So it was bad. I don't think it was as bad as it looks. Okay. Bye-bye. Stephen Keel just went bye-bye. There's no point in that kind of crap. What do we got? We got 19 people in here. You got nothing better to do? Ain't no couches burning in Morgantown. Now, of course, there are people calling for Neil Brown's head. There were within the first few minutes of the game. Of course, it's the ones who never believed the 9-4 season last year was significant. So it's not surprising. It's irritating. It's not surprising. And we're not going to change those people. Anybody else here have particular questions? Um, I will note, when the game started, uh, West Virginia ran pretty well, but we were doing much the same as last season. We were getting 7 to 9, 10 yards, couldn't break anything. My Sunday questions video, one of the questions was, did we break a run for 20 yards or more? We needed to do that. And then, of course, they started to shut the run down. Runs up the middle were nothing. I do wish they had given that up sooner. At the same time, I recognize that you have to be able to run up the middle. You have to have the other team not sure if you're going to run up the middle. I think most of the good runs were to the left, where, of course, we have Milam and Remack. The Penn State defensive line, like last year, may be the best one we face. Will the difference in the upcoming lines be enough so that West Virginia can hold their own or dominate? The defensive line, I was happy with. Yes, there were a couple of long runs, but overall, they handled things well. That was good. I had the question on the previous live broadcast of what would be the first play. Well, it was a deep pass that Green missed. Ray was open. It was the type of pass that Green typically throws very well. It was a good idea. The line executed. Ray executed. Green missed. So, well, we answered that question. We didn't ask what will be the result of the first play, but it did kind of set the tone from there. Yeah, I don't think anybody had it on their bingo card that we would have back-to-back snap issues, West Virginia recovering a fumble, and then Penn State recovering a fumble. Now, of course, that one, don't know whose fault it was, because, the man in motion was in the way when Yates snapped the ball. So was the snap at the wrong time? Was the man in motion at the wrong time? Don't know. But it shouldn't happen anyway. And again, that was a play that you don't want to say a play changes the game, but that early, when you get a momentum changer in your favor, man, and then you just turn it right back with a bad play. It's not even like we took a shot and it was intercepted or something. We just screwed up, unforced error, which is mostly a tennis term, but I apply it to football as well. There was nothing that caused it. Yeah, we did see Gallagher get a couple of decent, screens and runs. Nothing downfield, I don't think. As a defensive back, he made a critical mistake. Fourth down or third down, and I think 7 yards to go or whatever, and Gallagher was playing way off the tight end in the slot, and all the tight end had to do was slip out, grab an easy pass, and there was the first down. Gallagher, well, of course, you don't really want Gallagher on a tight end, but he still has to play that guy tighter. You can't you can't give them more cushion than it takes to get the first down. But I expect that to get better. Some people were commenting about, clock management because they were taking it down low just about every play. I'm sure that was intentional. I have no doubt that was intentional. I think, it was intended to shorten the game, which potentially works in West Virginia's favor if they execute on offense, and they didn't. New offensive wrinkles. The offense was not on the field consistently enough to show much of anything. We had one play to Farmer. We had a variety of screens, some of which may have been a bit different, but I wouldn't say they showed anything particularly new that I noticed. There could have been different motions and that sort of thing, but really the offense, they couldn't get the ordinary things going right. So, well, of course, we did bring Markiel in when it was first and goal around the 3-yard line. He came up that half-yard short. I guess they were just hoping to catch Penn State off guard. It kind of worked. Of course, then later Markiel throws an interception that was kind of a bad short pass. Yeah. But yeah, that's just kind of checking some of my notes. Most of it's the same thing over and over. Bad calls, bad passes, some really good catches, and mainly over and over again, could not get off the field on third down. We saw it again. It's the same issue as last year. If you got to get the pressure, but you got to maintain containment. And we didn't do it against Penn State last year. There were a couple of other games where we had issues with it last year. But most of the time last year, we were good at it. So I'm going to think we will repeat that. We'll be better at containment and pressure the rest of the season than we were this year. And maybe we will see some wrinkles. I would like, the announcers for years have not been good about pointing out substitutions. So I did notice that Williams was in a couple of times because there were problems on those plays. I don't know how much they rotated the offensive line in general. We'll have the play counts coming out later tonight or tomorrow. So when I do a video Sunday or Monday, we'll maybe take a look at that. Well, I don't know much else to talk about. We have Albany coming up. We will beat the crap out of them. We will beat We will beat Pitt. And I think we will have some more positive things to talk about. I figure Monday will be Neil Brown's press conference. Don't know if we'll get other people on Monday as well. Neil Brown will not be happy in his press conference. We'll see what details. Some of the questions that we have, I think he will be able to answer, assuming the people who are there ask him the questions. Some of it I think he'll cover in his opening statement. He will, he'll play straight with us. He does. Well, haven't really been here all that long, but just about half an hour. But does anybody have questions, comments, or additional? I do want to thank all my regulars, and I think maybe one or two who aren't here all that often, wherever, I don't know. I didn't say at the beginning, should have. You had other things on my mind. I do hope you'll subscribe, share, make comments when this is on YouTube, YouTube later, and click the notification bell. And my understanding is that YouTube has lowered the requirement for subscribers to 500 in order to start doing things like super chats and a little donate button, maybe some other things. That leaves me around 95 short. So that could be reached in a big hurry if you guys will help me. Get out there and run some interference for me, make the catches, and I will get to 500 and be able to pay some bills. You guys will eventually benefit, because if I make enough money, I can upgrade some of this equipment and do a potentially better job. It won't improve me, but maybe with better equipment, I can do a better imitation. All right, guys, we're not getting more questions, so I am going to go ahead and end this commiseration, start thinking about next week, or actually start thinking about tomorrow's video. Since I did Sunday questions, I have to do Sunday answers, whether I really want to or not. It comes under the heading of doing what you're supposed to do more than what you want to do. All right. Do wackadoo, wackadoo. Okay, guys, thanks for being here. I am going to go ahead and end this live stream, and I will be talking to you guys hopefully before too long. So long.